I'm used to speaking to groups about my military career and what I did, go to schools, and just all different types of associations. But I never get a chance to come and talk about my dad. So it's very nice to be able to do that. And I just thank you all for attending here today and coming and seeing this. And Bev, I will give you plenty of time to talk because they're all waiting, I know. Heritage is something that's it's described as something that is transmitted or acquired from a predecessor. And my dad, to me, transmitted my love for the military and aviation. For this community, he transmitted the thought of having this museum where people could come, share the things that they have as heirlooms or skills, and it would encourage and transmit their heritage to other generations. So it's a great gift that we have, not just for that idea, but also for all the volunteers that tirelessly work to keep this museum going year after year after year. And to even have such a great facility. I was given a tour of the vast square footage back here, and it's really a great gift that that we have this for our community. So make sure you talk it up for people to come out and see it. Make sure you talk it up for people to get rid of some of that stuff that's of value for the community to see, because you never know what you will have that will be an encouragement to someone else. Okay, so that's where I grew up. We drove up there today. You can't even see that place. It's completely covered, surrounded by trees and bushes, and it's been in pretty bad shape. But it was nice back in the day when we moved here. So we moved here in 1968. Dad came in 67 because he was building Hal Metal Company. So that's where I started out. And I need you to know a little bit about me so that you know who's talking to you today. Here was my original school, Drew High School. And this just happens to be third grade. I went through first through fourth grade here, and then Plains Elementary opened up, and that's where I went. But I have some famous people in my class. If you look right there, there's one of your town council guys, Sean Kaufman. And there's Cindy Baker, who I think she has 46 years down at the Southern Kitchen, which is amazing. Let's see. Man, there's the celebrity right there, Dave Getz. So make sure you say that you saw him and shook his hand today. Of course, very sadly, we have Holly Hoover, who was taken from us just earlier this year. And then there I am to prove that I was here a long time ago. So that's where I started out, going through Timberville School and then over to Plains and John C. Myers and what is now the middle school, but the Raleigh High School. Went to Virginia Tech, graduated with the aerospace engineering degree. Met my wife, Stacy, another famous person, sitting right there in the back row. Make sure you shake her hand as well. And then we have two kids. They no longer look like that. You can add 30 years to them. So that is where I came from. I started out after college being a civilian flight instructor down in North Carolina. And after about 6 months of that, I couldn't stand it anymore, and I went again to see if the military had any openings for pilots, and they did. And unfortunately, I had 2025 in one of my eyes, and I had to start out as a navigator. So when I graduated from navigator school, I started as a backseater weapon system officer in an F4 down in North Carolina. And then after you make it through, you get your wings as a navigator, now you can have eyesight that's 2200 corrective. So I did that, and I was accepted to pilot training. And out of pilot training, I was able to fly F-16. I did that for about 15 years. And then we eventually switched over to the F-22 down at Langley Air Force Base. I did that for about another 3 years, and then retired in 2013. So that's my military career. Fortunately, I also inspired my son, as well as my dad inspired him, and he is in the Air Force, and he flies MC-130 special operations airplanes that drop the SEAL teams off and that kind of stuff. And he does that in Okinawa, Japan. So you can see the inspiration that comes from a person, and it may not be for lots of categories, it may be for one specific category. Mine and my son's happened to be in aviation, and that was because my dad. And I can tell you, one of the biggest impacts in Dad's whole life was his service in World War II. One of the biggest things that impacted him. And he used to have 2 photo albums that he kept in his office in the filing cabinet drawer. And I used to go in there and always want to look at it and leaf through all the pictures and stuff. And I'll have a short film at the end here that you can see those pictures that I used to look at that inspired me to do what I do. Also, I was inspired back in the day by the Apollo missions that were going up, because that was really hot and heavy right in that time when in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. So even people that I never met inspired me to do what I do. So don't be bashful about thinking you're too old or you don't know certain things. You never know what's going to inspire somebody. So make sure you're inspirational, Bev. We're going to take notes. Okay, so let's talk about my dad. There was Dad's house in Olivet, Kansas. He grew up, he was born in 1922, and he lived on this farm, which when they first moved it to that house, it was full of grain seed that he used to have to sleep on the bags until they could get a bed for him and his younger brother. And he is one of 7 siblings, of which all of them, except for the younger brother, were all older. And they were already grown and moved along. So he was really the guy who had help on the farm. He would have been from in the years of the 20s and the 30s, so during the Depression, during the Dust Bowl, out there in Kansas. He didn't have electricity. He slept in the attic up there with his brother. He used to say the bowl that he had to pee in was frozen in the morning when he was getting up in the wintertime. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty rough conditions, but it was pretty rough conditions for a lot of people back in those days. Everything was done with mules. They had 2 mules at first, then they graduated to 4 mules, and then on to 6. But didn't get a tractor until he was just about ready to go into the service. He went through 9th grade. He was about to start 10th grade. On the day he was ready to start and go to school, he got done milking one of the cows, and he was just about to stop and head off, and his dad said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Well, I'm going to school." He goes, "I need to talk to you about that. Your sister's going to get to keep going," and this was his stepsister, "but I need you here on the farm." And he never returned to school anymore after that because he was needed on the farm. But Dad was still, he would try to read a magazine or flyers. He also took a correspondence course in aviation mechanics. So he was a very smart and innovative guy. This is a well on their house that they had to dig, and this thing right here was because they didn't have electricity, they did have a Model T that no longer worked. So he took the back end transmission and mounted it up here to make a windmill to produce electricity. So they had a 1 bulb electric current going through the house. So pretty amazing. He also hooked it up so it made an electric fence for their cows. So pretty innovative guy. And I guess growing up with nothing, you get pretty innovative. So I know that I was pretty amazed at the stories that he had about that. And I can assure you, when we went to visit in 1968, that house looked the same way. Hadn't been improved any. In 1941, when the Japanese attacked, everybody was getting geared up for going to the military service. And Dad wanted to go into aviation, but his dad, again, wouldn't allow it because he needed him on the farm. And in order to volunteer to go into aviation, you had to be 21 years old, or you had to get a signature from your parent. So because his dad wouldn't sign, and he wasn't going to be 21 until 1943, he just had to wait. Well, as 1942 went on, he was getting closer and closer to knowing that he was going to be drafted. And I think his dad could see the writing on the wall as well. So he actually signed for him to go into military aviation, but he got drafted first. So that first picture is him out on the Mojave Desert in California, where he was learning to be a medical corpsman for the first 6 months of his military career. He's a private right there. I know he's smiling, but he's smiling because that was the day that he got accepted into the Army Air Corps. And the paperwork was just behind, and he took all the tests before he got drafted into the Army. He took all the military aviation tests, and he passed them. And so it just took a while for the paperwork to catch up, and the Air Force nabbed him from being a corpsman and going to Guadalcanal. So he ended up going to aviation school, ended up going to the B-17, where you can see his face looking out the window there. And that was the start of his aviation career in the Army Air Forces. He ended up, by the time you get through training, it's already 1944. So it takes a while to go through all these schools, and that's no different today. The picture here with all the bombs on the side of the plane, that was the plane was named Rum Dum, and that was a very famous plane in his squadron because it had never turned back for mechanical failure. So it was a very big honor to get to fly that plane on any missions. So that's why he's standing in front taking that picture. His other plane, his personal plane, was called Max Hack, which they called taxis hacks back then, so that was why it was called Max Hack. But so that's a picture of him in front of Rum Dum. This picture right here was his plane that got hit by another aircraft. B-24 crashed through the back of him, and the propellers cut through the tail section, but he was still able to safely bring that back. And he carried that picture in his wallet until the day he died. When I was clearing out his wallet, there's that picture. So he loved to show people the stuff that happened to him back in World War II. This is a citation. I'll read what it says on it. It's like a newspaper clipping that they would send out to hometowns. And it says, at 8th Air Force Bomber Station, England, standing beneath the escape hatch of his 8th Air Force B-17 Flying Fortress, Max Hack, which he flew 35 times to bomb industrial and military targets in Germany, is Captain Charles W. McCauley, 23, of Hartford, Kansas, pilot of the bomber. Recently promoted to captain from the rank of first lieutenant, he holds the Air Medal with 5 oak leaf clusters, and that medal for meritorious achievement, courage, coolness, and skill, while participating on his missions. He is the son of Mr. and Mrs. Robert McCauley of Hartford. So that was a nice hometown clip that they would send back for the folks at home. And then he also got a certificate from the Lucky Bastard Club, which is a certificate saying that you completed 35 missions and you get to go home. So he was happy when that came along. That's just a larger picture of what I just read to you. This is after he was actually separated from the service back home, and his next medal got awarded to him after he was exited from the service, and I'll read that citation to you now. To whom it may concern, Captain Charles W. McCauley, 550th Bombardment Squadron, 385th Bombardment Group Heavy, has this date completed 35 heavy bombardment missions over enemy-occupied continental Europe. Captain McCauley distinguished himself by extraordinary achievement in aerial flight while serving as first pilot on a heavy bombardment mission to Dresden, Germany. Captain McCauley has served as second lead pilot on 15 missions, performing admirably in this capacity. Section lead pilot, not second, I'm sorry, section lead pilot. On the mission to Dresden, Germany, Captain McCauley's aircraft was attacked by enemy fighters on the bombing run. The fighters concentrated on a frontal attack, seriously wounding his navigator and shooting up his nose section. Both wing aircraft were shot down. Captain McCauley continued to hold his plane in good formation to enable the squadron to get a close concentration of bombs on the target. After bombs away, Captain McCauley resorted to evasive action as the fighters came in for a second attack. Leading the remainder of his section with great skill, Captain McCauley was able to frustrate the oncoming attack and bring his section through without further damage. With his navigator wounded, the number 4 engine knocked out, and the number 3 engine windmilling, and his hydraulic system shot away. Captain McCauley made a successful landing without further damage to his ship or injury to his crew. Other bombing missions Captain McCauley has participated in are Berlin, Cologne, Karlsruhe, Chemnitz, Nuremberg, Munich, and Plauen. The courage, coolness, and skill displayed by Captain McCauley on this occasion resulted in the safety of his plane and his crew. His actions reflect great credit upon himself and the armed forces of the United States. For this achievement, while attacking high-priority enemy targets, Captain McCauley was presented with the following awards: Air Medal, 1st Oak Leaf Cluster, 2nd Oak Leaf Cluster, 3rd Oak Leaf Cluster, and 4th Oak Leaf Cluster, and has been recommended for the 5th Oak Leaf Cluster, to the Air Medal and the Distinguished Flying Cross for extraordinary achievement. It is recommended that Captain McCauley be reassigned his present capacity in view of his past accomplishments and admirable combat record. So that was his award for the Distinguished Flying Cross, which is a very high aviation award that you can receive in combat. And he was very proud of that. And there he is. I don't know who this young lady is. It was a friend, but that is not my mom. But that was when he received it back home. I have some memorabilia here on the table that you can take a look at of his. There's his medal, Distinguished Flying Cross, his air medal, his wings. This is a piece of shrapnel that sent up the flak guns that would shoot the planes, and you see his black bursts that go off. That's a piece of that metal that comes flying out, and that he dug out of his seat of his airplane when he came back from a mission. These things are tags that are on the bombs. That's how they arm them. It's just a cotter pin that they pull out, and then when they come back, the guys would write what mission that was, and they'd hang it on their wall until they got enough missions to go home. His dog tags are here. This right here is, if you unfold it, it's called a short snorter, and it's a bunch of different money from the different countries that they go to, and you'd get all your buddies that you flew with to sign them. The rest of that stuff is not from him. Let me see. Yep. And some of these awards are, there's a couple pieces missing because when I was a kid, I used to dress up, put all this stuff on. So anyway, that's where that is. Dad went on after the military. This was him in 1950. He went on to apply to the University of Oklahoma. And remember, he had a 9th grade education, so they took him on probation. And he ended up graduating 4 years later with a chemical engineering degree, which is pretty amazing because that's a pretty tough degree to get. He left there in, I think, 49. Went to work for Calvert Distilleries, Seagram's, makes liquor. He did that in Baltimore as a chemist for about 7 months. Didn't really much like that. And then he went to work for Revere Metals. Did that for about 14 years. And that's where he met his former boss, Leo Howe, and kind of followed him around as he went. Went to work for H.K. Porter in New Jersey, and that's another metal place, make Cooper nickel wire. And then his, again, former boss, Leo Howe, asked him to come down and help him start Howe Metal Company in Newmarket. He came down here in 1967. He would travel from New Jersey and down every week and come home on weekends. And he did that for all of 1967. Lived down, rented a room down on C Street. I can't remember whose house it was that he rented, but that's where he was. And built the company, really built the building, the company, all the stuff that's going on there. Had to train just a bunch of folks that had never worked in a plant like that. All the equipment had to be developed by him. I mean, he made the draw benches, drew the plans for all the equipment that was in there. And just phenomenal person that had the ability, had the knowledge to do that. He always looked at the house on the hill. You could still see it at that point. Hadn't been lived in for 2 years. It was originally built by John Hoover in 1902. At the time, it was owned by veterinarian Walker, was his last name. And Dad, when he knew that we were actually going to have the plant moving and working, knew that, okay, it's time to move the family down here in 1968. Bought the house, and we painted that thing all the time. I mean, it was a lot of paint we went through, scraping and painting and painting and scraping. And I think my mom was still painting until the day she passed away. So it was a big house to take care of, but it was a great place to live. And that's where we called home. And then later on, Dad decided that he wanted to do something for his community besides the plant there, and he ran for town council in '84, and eventually ran for mayor in '94, I believe it was, and he was there until about 2004. So that was his history as he moved along. Now, Dad, he still loved to support me everywhere I went. Here he is pinning on my wings at pilot training. If there was an air museum somewhere, we would go see it. He'd love to do that. He loved to go on the base, and he would talk about all kinds of stuff on base that, oh, look, there's where they got the septic, or there's the pressure lines in the tanks over there where they're doing. He just had a breadth of knowledge of different stuff that I'm sitting there going, hey, let's go take a look at the airplanes over here. And, he's back there looking at other stuff too. There he is at my navigator graduation. That's prior to this one. And my lovely wife, Stacy. And just as beautiful today, if I must say. But he was just great at supporting me for my whole career. And here he is, and Stacy can verify, this is in the Mojave Desert at a monument for where he was originally going to go as a medical corpsman. He made Stacy drive when we were living in Apple Valley, California. He made Stacy drive, how long did it take?
Forever. It was in the middle of nowhere.
And you can see it. It's in the middle of nowhere. They put this monument up there for all the crews, or all the units that trained there. They used to train to take up tents, take down tents. They'd have tanks shooting at the mountains, the Chocolate Mountains there, and they put this monument up in the middle of nowhere, but only he could find it. And Stacy was there to witness it. I had to work that day. I'm sorry, Stacy. So he was a very nostalgic person, and I think that's why the museum had such a drive in his soul. So you can see that Dad was very inspirational to me towards the military. And then also to my son later on, who's also still serving in the military. He's currently a major, and I think he's going to be a lieutenant colonel. Probably will outrank me and Dad one of these days. Yet, even though Dad's not here, if Jake and I are around B-17, we'll always go walk up to see it. Your heritage is unique to you guys, and you need to pass it on to other generations, even generations that may not be here. You never know who's going to pick up something that you owned or you worked on or you wrote, and they're going to be inspired to go do that very same thing. Dad passed away 20 years ago, but he still inspires me, and he inspires my son as well. He allowed me to have a long and successful military career, and that of my son as well. He loved this community. He was in local government. He was in he was a manager down Halmetal. Loved the employees that worked for him. Treated them very well, and he loved this museum. And he would be just dumbfounded by what's become today, from the 2 or 3 car garage that was back behind the town building that you now have the police force in. I'll read this. If Mac were here today, he would want to tell you how proud he is of what this museum has become through the countless volunteer hours that you've spent carrying on the pride of this community's memories. He started it with an idea of national pride, patriotic duty to his community, in a small garage behind the town office. He would be tearful to see what you've grown it to today in Pee Wee's former hardware store. I want to thank each of you who continue to volunteer your time, your talent, your heirlooms, and your participation in this museum. Through your efforts to keep it growing, it will inspire many generations to come, to be proud of where they've come from, and to carry the tradition of family, community, and national patriotism for the Valley and our country. He would also want each of you to get a free hot dog and a drink. I thank you for your attention. I'm going to play a short video, and then we'll put it up to Bev. Bev, I went over 4 minutes. I am sorry.
Keep going.
All right, let's see if we can get this baby going here. Let me know if it's too loud. Oh. Excuse me. Give me a second. My computer went back to double screen.